So here we are in the hot room of a wood-burning sauna, one of my favorite places in the entire world. You might be wondering what gives me the credibility to talk about pain. Well, I've lived a life of pain since I was 11 years old, so just over 29 years, and all of my pain stems from one single incident while playing hockey. It was when I was a peewee, so I'm 11 years old, and this is my first shift as a peewee. And this is checking hockey back in the day. So I'm out there on the ice playing in my first game with older kids. And I'm a little intimidated because it's first year of checking hockey, right? So I want to do my best. And during that shift, a puck got dumped into the corner. I'm chasing after it. And lo and behold, a giant baby Huey motherfucker just plows me into the boards at full speed. Now, I went in head first. I'm on the ground. I'm just riling back and forth, screaming, can't breathe. It's like one of those scream can't breathe, the trying to catch my breath, trying to gain some sort of understanding on what's happening to me at that moment. So, I end up getting taken off on a stretcher, taken into an ambulance, into a hospital where, they're looking at x-rays of my neck because I went in head first. So basically, let me just demonstrate for you. I was checked from behind and went in like this, but I was fortunate to get my head up. So I went in face first. I'm sure that looks fantastic in a sauna. So as I'm sitting in the doctor's office, the doctor's looking at x-rays. He's asking me all these questions. I'm telling him that it really hurts to walk. And he's looking up here for any sort of injury in these x-rays. They took x-rays of my back as well, but the main focus was up in my neck area where I had the main point of impact. So because they didn't see anything in my neck, they said I was fine. I told them that my back really hurt, and they just said, "You're bruised, you're really lucky." So that's what the doctor said, and that's what I believed, because the doctor's always right, right? So in this case, I ended up going back to the arena. I ended up making it in time to shake hands with the opponent's team, sans baby Huey, of course, because he was kicked out of the tournament along with some of the ridiculous parents that were defending his actions. But that's where my pain started. I was told that I was okay, told that it was just a bruise. I go back home later in the night. I can't sit. I can hardly walk. I'm just icing my lower back, trying to just gain some sort of feeling of normalcy. And nothing was normal, that's for sure. But I continued to play hockey, and I continued to just deal with what was initially told as a bruise. So then that really just started this ping pong effect of injuries that I would experience throughout my life. 2 years later, almost to the day, I had a non-contact ACL tear. So I had my first ACL surgery at 13. And that was likely due to compensation patterns from fighting this pain that I was dealing with when I was checked from behind. And then a year later, I'm playing baseball, and I collapsed running to first base. Couldn't even walk. Ended up going to the doctor. They're looking at the same x-rays that were taken a couple years earlier, comparing them to new x-rays. And the doctor deemed that, I did have a fractured vertebrae. I had a fractured L4, L5 vertebrae. And because of the misdiagnosis, my spine slid forward, fused itself together, stunted my growth, and led to those compensation patterns that created this torn ACL. And that condition is called spondylolisthesis, and it's something that a lot of people suffer, namely the shooter of CEO Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangini, had spondylolisthesis, and it created crippling nerve pain for him, just as it did for me. But we're not talking about Luigi, we're talking about me. So when I found out that I had spondylolisthesis, there was nothing that could be done at that time. My spine had already fused itself together. Any amount of time taken away from the sport wouldn't heal anything anymore, so I just had to deal with it and figure out ways to live with it. So through the rest of my high school career, I managed to have no major injuries other than the fact that I was just pretty much bruised and in pain a lot of the time. So after high school, I went on to continue pursuing my dream of becoming a Division I hockey player, and I'm playing hockey up in Canada and in the USHL. And just before playoffs in the USHL, I tear my left ACL the exact same way that I tore my right ACL. Just going to check somebody and then pop, snap, drop. And it's the exact same thing as the first one. Horribly painful, couldn't walk, torn ACL. What are you going to do, right? After I found out the news of my second torn ACL, I ended up driving home on my 19th birthday to go and have surgery for the second time. And at that point, I thought I was going to be done with hockey. 2 ACL surgeries, having to deal with back pain, just the frustration of continuous setbacks. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I ultimately decided that I did want to play hockey again. I wanted to see this through. I've come this far. I'm going to go for it. So I battled all summer long and got my knee back to a point where I felt strong again. And I went back to my Canadian team in pursuit of the opportunity to play Division I hockey. I ended up having a great season, and I was recruited to my dream school, Boston University, to become a recruited walk-on, and all was well. I was ecstatic, so much so that my team was so good. We were playing at the end of Canadian junior hockey. We were in the Dudley Hewitt Cup on our way to potentially make the Royal Bank Cup, and if we would have made it to the Royal Bank, then I would have had just a flood of Division I offers coming my way. But unfortunately, we didn't make it to the Royal Bank Cup. And unfortunately, in one of those games, I tore my ACL for the third time. This one was not a non-contact injury. It was a scenario where I was literally just plowed into the boards. My leg was vulnerable. Ended up getting smashed. And that was awful. I ended up playing the whole entire rest of the game because I wanted to help my team see it through. And maybe I did a little bit more damage while I continued to play that game. But, that's the sport of hockey, right? You're tough, you want to play, you want to see it through, and you want to be there for your teammates. But in the end, I had a third torn ACL, and that ended my hockey career. The last game that I played, I did not know going into it. So that ended up being a really tough mental roadblock to get over the next few years, because I didn't have that proper closure with the sport that I love. And that led to some significant issues beyond physical pain that I was not prepared to deal with. So, after I had my third ACL surgery, I ended up getting an infection in my knee. I got what they told at the time was chronic patellar tendonitis, and that it would be with me for the rest of my life. And if you're not familiar with patellar tendonitis, it's anytime you're going up a stair or pushing off, it is just excruciating pain on the front of the kneecap. And I just thought that was going to be with me for the rest of my life. And it prevented my leg from getting strong again. And that's the reason why I ended up quitting hockey altogether. So having to quit and not being able to play started to really wear on me mentally. And before I could even understand what was going on, I made a drastic decision to leave Minnesota altogether, to go down to Florida and go to school, get away from hockey, just to try to make myself feel better. I thought that's what I needed to do. And while I was down in Florida, I realized that I did need to come back home, and running away from what I thought was a problem or an issue wasn't the right answer. But really, there were not many right answers at that time, because I was at the beginning of a full-on depression that began to prevent me from being me. I didn't want to go out as much. I didn't have sports as an outlet. I was frustrated all the time, and it was a very difficult ordeal to deal with. And mental health awareness was not as prevalent in the early 2000s, so I was just kind of wallowing in my head on what to do. So this physical pain that I experienced now turned into a mental pain that was preventing me from everyday activities. And that depression was tough.